Good evening, everyone. My name is Darren Slack, founder and chief program officer at Proact Indy. And this year, we are celebrating 10 years of impact in the Indianapolis community with the mission to stand in the gap for vulnerable populations while empowering youth to actively transform their communities. We've engaged over 20,000 people in human centered service since 2010. And this year, we celebrate all that great impact on November 12th, 2020. In preparation for our celebration, we are asking you to be brave enough to be vulnerable and complete our Stand in the Gap initiative and Stand in the Gap challenge. What's the Stand in the Gap challenge? Well, whether it was a parent, a sibling, a teacher, a coworker, or a church member, or anyone who saw something in you that you didn't see in yourself, we have all had someone stand in the gap for us during times in our lives when we felt at our lowest, most vulnerable points. And as an organization that values the transformative power of vulnerability, we want you to honor that person who stood in the gap for you by sharing your story with us in a 2 to 3 minute video, just like this one. We want to amplify these stories to encourage other people to stand in the gap for others and to share their own stories of how people have stood in the gap for them. And to kick this off, I'll share my own story of when someone stood in the gap for me when I was at my lowest point in my life. Call it ambition, call it pride, call it shame, call it whatever you want. But in leading an organization that serves so many people, it's easy to forget that you don't know everything, even though many people expect you to. Harder is admitting that. Harder still is asking for help. I made all of those mistakes. And oftentimes I felt like I was on an island with no one to talk to, no one to vent to. And when it seemed to all become crashing down on me, a couple bad mistakes, a couple very bad mistakes, almost caused me to lose every single thing that I worked so hard for. A decade of constant grind and commitment. I mean, I was ready to give up. I was ready to throw everything down the drain and move on until someone who had every reason to walk away reached out to me and said 6 words that changed my life and taught me a valuable lesson. And thinking of these words brings tears to my eyes even still. And these words were, "I'm not giving up on you." Jed Banner stood in the gap for me. And those words and his actions taught me a valuable lesson to stand in the gap for someone else.